Hello, guys. Okay. So, I'm going to read from Song of Songs and Isaiah. Now, Isaiah is not online, so I have it right here, TPT. And I took the time to take pictures of the book and send it to the booth so you guys can read along with us. But I think you'll like it because it's really, really good. Um, so I'm just going to keep going with the flow of just reading and see where that goes. So, kind of to give a background, when you read Song of Songs in the TPT, it's like a whole different thing. It's like completely different than I've seen before. And it's like we know it's like a romance thing, and we know it's between um, like the bride and the bridegroom, right? But he really expands on a lot of this terminology in here and a lot of these like really hard sentences to understand and like the meaning in the Hebrew of that time. And we'll go through some of that. It's really nice. So this whole story is about the Shulamite, which is representing us, God's people, and the bridegroom representing Jesus, right? And this whole, for 8 chapters, it's just back and forth. It's Jesus coming, or the bridegroom coming to the Shulamite constantly and saying, "Come with me, come away with me." And the bride is constantly resisting a couple times. And then near the end, she, after some beatings, she realizes that she needs to just go with him. And we read this as like, oh, this is like love story, but like this book is it's a song of suffering, because when Jesus is saying, "Come away with me," I'll read you guys some of the footnotes. It's really amazing how it talks about, he's saying, "Come with me and walk in my suffering with me." And that's why she's resisting, right? Why would she resist if he's saying, "Come away with me," and it's this good old story, right? There's obviously something there why she would want to resist. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about taking that opportunity to make sure you grab onto that when God's saying, "Come with me, come be broken, now's your time." And if you're resisting that, then that's when Isaiah kicks in. And if you're resisting that, then that's when Jeremiah kicks in, right? And we don't want to get there. So let's start reading. This is Song of Songs 2. I'm just going to read, and we're going to soak it in. All right. I am truly his rose. So this is the Shulamite. So this is us. I am truly his rose, the very theme of his song. I'm overshadowed by his love like a lily growing in the valley. The shepherd king, which is Jesus. Yes, you are my darling companion. You stand up from all the rest. For though the thorns surround you, you remain as pure as a lily, more than all others. Remember, Shulamite is the bride, which is representing as God's people, us. My beloved is to me the most fragrant apple tree. He stands above the sons of men. Sitting under his gray shadow, I blossom in his shade. Enjoying the sweet taste of his pleasant, delicious fruit, resting with delight where his glory never fades. Suddenly he transported me into his house of wine. He looked upon me with his unrelenting love divine. Revive me with your raisin cakes. Refresh me again with your apples. Help me and hold me, for I am lovesick. I am longing for more. Yet how could I take more? Dude, there's a hint there. What is she talking about? All right. His left hand cradles my head while his right hand holds me close. I am at rest in this love. Right, if I stopped and read every single footnote, we'd be here for like 3 hours. So, like I said, I suggest you guys getting the book, but the really important ones, I'm going to read the footnote. The shepherd king, promise me, Jerusalem maidens, by the gentle gazelles and the delicate deer, that you'll not disturb my love until she is ready to arise. You see that? He's saying, So for the longest time, I thought it meant don't disturb my love, like the quality or characteristic. But I think he's saying my love as in us. He's saying don't like don't try to come out of your season when it's not the right time, right? Until she is ready to arise, right? So there's a hint there. She's saying, how can I take more? And he's saying, basically stay in your season, right? So let's keep going. Listen, I hear my lover's voice. I know it's him coming to me, leaping with joy over mountains. All right, I just want to make sure I didn't miss that one. Wait. Okay. Skipping in love over the hills that separate us to come to me. Let me describe him. He is as graceful as a gazelle, swift as a wild stag. Now he comes closer, even to the places where I hide, right? He gazes into my soul, peering through the portal as he blossoms within my heart. Great imagery. The one I love calls to me, arise, my dearest, hurry, my darling, come away with me. So remember, this coming away with me isn't like, obviously it's like come, join in union with me. But what does that mean, right? That means you're going to have to pay the price that Jesus paid. And there's another one where it says that, we might read it, I can't remember, but it says that he walked down into it says, I watch as my lover, the bride speaking, I watch as my lover walks down into the garden of spices. And then the footnote, it says that the garden is the garden like where he prayed, and the spices is like what he was embalmed in, so it represents like the suffering. So it's saying you have to walk with him in his suffering, right? Come away with me. I have come as you have asked, to draw you to my heart and lead you out, for now is the time. Now is the time, my beautiful one. The season has changed. The bondage of your barren winter has ended, and the season of hiding is over and gone. The rains have soaked the earth and left it bright with blossoming flowers. The season for singing and pruning the vines has arrived. I hear the cooing of doves in our land, filling the air with songs to awaken you and guide you forth. Can you not discern this new day of destiny breaking forth around you? So he's basically saying, like, don't you see that there's breakthrough near you and around you? That it's time for the season to change. It's time to be broken so this can come out of you. The early signs of my purposes and plans are bursting forth. The budding vines of new life are now blooming everywhere. The fragrance of their flowers whispers. There is change in the air. Arise, my love, my beautiful companion, and run with me to the higher place, right? So in order to get to the higher place, we have to go to the lower place, right? We have to go walk that suffering road with Jesus. For now is the time to arise and come away with me, for you are my dove hidden in the split open rock. It was I who took you and hid you up high in the secret stairway of the sky. Dr. Seuss. Let me see your radiant face and hear your sweet voice. How beautiful your eyes of worship and lovely your voice in prayer. You must catch the troubling foxes, those sly little foxes that hinder our relationship, right? That's pretty obvious. The cares of the world, the evil spirits, whatever you want to call it. For they raid our budding vineyard of love to ruin what I've planted within you. Will you catch them? This question stood out to me. I could almost like saying like he's talking to like a little kid. He's like, hey, will you catch them and remove them from me? He's asking us out of our own free will. First, can you correct yourself? And if not, then we're going to have to go into different levels of correction. We will do it together. Great. Love that. I know my lover is mine, and I have everything in you, for we delight ourselves in each other. So this seems like I'm just reading this, but I want to read from beginning to end to see the story of how there's this relationship, and then he's like, come with me, and she says no. And we'll see what that ends up costing her. And I have everything in you, for we delight ourselves in each other. But until the day springs to life and the shifting of shadows of fear disappear. Scroll, please. Turn around, my lover, and ascend to the holy mountains of separation without me. Until the day, wait, hold on. Scroll up. Keep going. Okay, this is the verse. So now this is the bride talking. I want you to pay attention to these words. I'm going to read it again. I know my lover is mine and I have everything. He's like, look, God, I know that you're the one who can save me, right? I know that I'm supposed to be here. I know this, it's like when pastor has a meeting and we're saying, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know I'm supposed to do that. Then, you got to actually put it in action and do it. For we delight ourselves in each other, so she's saying, but until my life looks better and until things are a little bit clearer, right? Until the day springs to life and the shifting of shadows of fear disappear, until I'm out of this crazy season, then maybe we'll talk, God, right? Turn around, my lover. So she's saying, right, so the lover's facing her and she's saying, turn around, not now. And ascend to the holy mountains of separation without me. You see that? So she's saying, God's coming, come away with me. Now is your season to be broken, right? God might have put you in a situation where it's your time to be broken and it's painful. And you can resist or go off to other vices to fill your void. And by doing that, you're telling God, no. You're doing this to him. You're telling him to turn away. And he's not going to force you, so he's going to leave, right? And it's like the Bible says. And it says in Isaiah too, that God rejects his people when they reject him, right? Until the new day fully dawns, run on ahead. See, she's saying, until things get better, then we can talk, God. Right? Until the new day fully dawns, run on ahead like a graceful gazelle and skip like the young stag over the mountains of separation. Go on ahead to the mountain of spices. See, the mountain of spices in the footnote, it says that the spices like myrrh and frankincense and all those, they're spices that are, especially myrrh. It said that myrrh in the Hebrew was it was the Hebrew word for crying, like a tree crying, like sap. Which is a crazy representation because Jesus crying on the tree is a representation of myrrh, right? So spices, myrrh, he's saying, come with me to suffering. Come be broken. Now's your time to be broken. And she's like, no, you go ahead. You go ahead without me. I'll come away another time. So it just looks like this back and forth, right? But our lives are literally birthed to live in union with God, right? That's our purpose. That's what Pastor said. Our lives are born so that we can have a relationship with God. Things get easier, things get better in our lives so that we can get closer to God and spend more time. But she's saying, I'll go another time, God. So she's running off to something, it doesn't say, but she's rejecting God. So let's go to the next chapter, which is 3. We'll see how this turns out. So immediately in the next chapter, there's regret. Night after night, I'm tossing and turning on my bed of travail. Why did I let him go from me? So on her bed of travail, we obviously skipped ahead in time, but God comes to you and he has you in a season where you have to surrender, and you don't want to because you don't want that broken pain hurts, right? And so you have to go the long route, and God's going to put you in a different season, in a wilderness type of season where you're going to be crushed, and there's levels to that. And so that's like you're on a bed of pain, right? And if you go back up, she's saying, night after night, I'm tossing and turning on my bed of travail. So now she's going through some kind of discipline, right? Not Isaiah level discipline yet, but we'll get there. Why did I turn him up? Why did I reject him? Why didn't I just listen? How my heart aches for him, right? Why isn't her heart aching for him when he's saying, come with me to be broken, right? Now that she realized she lost something, or she realized that there's something to make up for, now she longs for God, right? So That's kind of backwards. Why did I let him go from me? How my heart aches for him, but now he is nowhere to be found, right? We all know this feeling. So I must rise in search of him, right? Okay, I got to go pray. I got to go read. I better listen to my authorities. And look, the first avenue God will send to help you during your time is what? Let's see. So I must rise in search of him. So she spiritually gets up and starts spiritually walking, looking throughout the city, seeking until I find. Oh, so in the footnote it says the city is like churches. 3. What verse is that? 2. The city is a picture of the local church, a place with government, order, and overseers, prophets, authorities. She goes from church to church, looking for the one she loves, during her time of pain where she should have just submitted and stuck and held her ground in that right place. Even if I have to roam through every street, nothing will keep me from my search. See, she's not doing this. She might say that she's doing this because she loves God, but she's doing this because she's in pain and she wants to get out of this season. Where is he, my soul's true love? He is nowhere to be found. First person God sends you. Then I encountered the overseers as they encircled the city. Then I talked to the authorities in the church. That's basically what it's saying. So I asked Pastor Steve, have you found him? My heart's true love. Why isn't God answering my prayer? And so it looks like they had a conversation, and the Pastor Steve tells you to go somewhere, or your authority tells you to go somewhere. Go do this and that. So she goes. Just as I moved past them, I encountered him. See, the authorities are the way, right? And this is so generic, but when you're in a tough season, those generic answers seem like weighted gold, right? You really want to follow those now. I found the one I adore. I caught him and fastened him to myself to him, refusing to be feeble in my heart again, right? Refusing to be weak. I hugged him and sank down into his arms. That's what it says. So fellowship is restored there, right? Back on the path of praying, right? You're sinking into Jesus' arms when you're in fellowship with him, reading, praying, obeying. Now I'll bring him back to the temple where I was given new birth into my innermost parts, the place of my conceiving. Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice this before. Now I'll bring him back to the temple, which is you. Bring him back? So he was there, and looks like she was given some kind of rebirth or overcoming or breakthrough. So she's saying, he was in me, and I had new birth, but then I let him go. So it's like you're in a season where God blesses you, and then all of a sudden, like Pastor's post, tough times make strong men, strong men make easy times make weak men, right? This is exactly what it's talking about. God blesses you. He was in you, and now we're pushing the Holy Spirit away because we want to go make love with the world. And now God puts us on a broken path, or a path of being broken and suffering because of our wrong choices. And now we want to say, no, I do love you, God. Let me go find you. And so you go to your authorities and they point you to the path to go. And we don't know what kind of instruction that is. That could have been a hard instruction that they had to swallow. She had to swallow, right? And now she's saying, oh, I'm glad that I'm back. Okay, now what are we going to do with that, right? Now I'll bring him back to the temple within where I was given new birth into my innermost parts, the place of my conceiving, okay? Jesus, promise me, O Jerusalem maidens, by the gentle gazelles and delicate deer, that you'll not disturb my bride until she is ready to arise. So after reading that kind of sounds like to me that maybe you shouldn't ask for things that are out of your, like, that's exactly what Pastor just posted. Maybe you shouldn't ask for things that are out of your season, or was that Pastor Eugene, one of them? That, yes, the foundation, right? That Pastor Eugene posted. You shouldn't ask for things out of your season, because when you get them, you're going to run away, and now you're pushing the Holy Spirit away. You're going to go through this cycle of suffering, and now on your bed of suffering, you're going to go looking, not because you love God, but because you want to get out of your season. And so now you get out through your authorities, as we've seen, and go back up. Right? And Jesus is warning us, don't ask for things that aren't for you until you're actually ready. Like Pastor Steve prays. Don't, I've prayed that since a long time, and maybe God, when he started praying that back at Osgood, I've been praying that too. And maybe God corrected me in this last season as a measured discipline to teach me for the future so that I don't make the same mistake again, right? So I'm grateful for that. The voice of the Lord. Who is this one ascending from the wilderness? See, in the pillar of the glory cloud. He is fragrant with the anointing oils of myrrh and frankincense, right? So the myrrh and frankincense, it's like I said, it's the representation of suffering. Look, it is the king's marriage carriage. Marriage carriage. The love seat surrounded by 60 champions, the mightiest of Israel's hosts, are like pillars of protection. They stand ready with swords to defend the king and his fiancée from terror of the night. The king made this mercy seat for himself out of the finest wood that will not decay. Pillars of smoke, like silver mist, a canopy of golden glory dwells above it. The place where they sit together is sprinkled with crimson. There's a absolutely beautiful, I don't even know where it is, but I remember what it says. It says that, in the TPT, it said that Jesus called himself a worm. And when it talks about crimson, in those days, when the worm bled, or when you killed this certain worm, it bled like a deep crimson color. And they would use that crimson color and as a dye, and they would put it and soak the clothes in there. So that when you think about crimson, it has that meaning from that little tiny worm that when split open like Jesus, it releases something that can cleanse us, right? So there's a lot of imagery in the Bible that's missed in English translations because Hebrew is like other languages. When I went to Lebanon, they're always talking about, we're like sitting around. This was like back in like 2015. We were sitting around and like smoking hookah or something. And they were like, that's like their thing there. That's all they do. And they were like, everybody's laughing, ha ha ha. Like, I don't understand Arabic, right? Like, I might be able to pick up a few words just from being there like a month, and I'm like, oh, and then my friend would like lean over and tell me like, yeah, they're laughing about something, but it's just hard to explain in English. It's not the same, and it's the same thing that Brian Simmons talks about. The translation. That's why people took it off Bible Gateway, because they feel like his translation was too outside the lines. Like, the culture wants word for word. What did he actually say? But we don't know what Hebrew culture was back then, right? And this is what he explains. And you get way more meaning and revelation in depth reading a translation like this. The king himself, love and mercy covered this carriage, blanketing his tabernacle throne. The king himself has made it for those who will become his bride. Rise up, Zion maidens, brides-to-be, come and feast your eyes on this king as he passes in procession on his way to his wedding. This is day filled with overwhelming joy, this day of great gladness. Okay, now we got a few stragglers. 4:6. So we fast forward a little bit, and this is like Elder Joseph's skit. Now that I'm reading it, I've decided. That's one of the lines in their skit that we spent like 20 minutes on. But Nancy got it. She nailed it. I've made up, so this is the bride talking, right? So there's this back and forth. And now that, right, this was in chapter 3 where the authority is pointing her to the right path, right? How do I get back on track, Pastor? How do I get back on track, authority of my household? How do I get back on track? And they point you, they tell you what to do. You follow and listen, and you restore that fellowship. God gives you breakthrough. And now, after all of that, she's like, I've made up my mind until the darkness disappears and the dawn has fully come, in spite of shadows and fears. Remember before she said, until the shadows and fears go away, until the new day springs, then I'll go with you, but in the meantime, go away from me. Now she learned, in spite of my hard times, in spite of my brokenness, I will go to the mountaintop with you. The mountaintop is only the path through the bottom, right? To ascend to the mountaintop spiritually is through the cross, through your brokenness. The mountain of suffering love and the hill of burning incense, right? It says that, I don't know if it was a band post or something I read today, or the other day, but the sacrifice that God desires is you, right? You are burning. That's the incense that's sweet to God. Your flesh is burning for God. The fat inside of you, not the fat of rams that they talk about in the Bible, but spiritually, it's the flesh in you that needs to go. And when that's burned, that's a pleasing incense to God. She says, yes, I will be your bride. Because he's saying, will you come away with me? And he comes again. And now she's saying, yes, she learned. This is what we need. It's okay to go through a tough season from your bad choices, but it's not okay to not learn from it, right? Let's go to the next one. 5. See, here we are, back in the same cycle. The Shulamite bride. This is the same lady. This is us. This is mirrored. Why is this mirrored so many times in the Bible? This is talked about, this back and forth cycle. This is talked about all throughout the Bible. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Song of Songs, Judges, right? It's a constant thing. Even 1 Kings, 1st, 2nd Kings, Chronicles, Samuel. It's giving contrast of people who go in these cycles. Raising up, being raised up to getting comfortable. It's just like, Pastor said, like I just said, when you're strong, you find easy times, and when there's easy times, you become weak. It's like if you don't work out, you get weak, right? You get flabby. You feel tired. After this, I let my devotion slumber. So this is after she got corrected, went through she pushed Jesus away because she wanted to go to the world. God, out of his mercy, lets her suffer for it. And she realizes, oh shoot, I made a mistake. I should have capitalized on that opportunity when God says, I want to break you. Will you come be broken with me? You should have said yes. She said no. Went through that hard season, went through her authorities. The authorities said, this is what you need to do to be restored and have breakthrough. She does it. And then she's like, I am not letting him go again. No way. And then the next chapter, I let my devotion slumber, but my heart for him stayed awake. So the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I had a dream. I dreamed of my beloved. He was coming to me in the darkness of night. Right? In your hard time. The melody of the man I love awakened me. I heard his knock at my heart's door. So see, it's the same thing. It happened again. What happened in chapter 2 is happening in chapter 5. Chapter 2, she lets Jesus go. Chapter 3, she searches for him again. Chapter 4, she accepts him again. Chapter 5, she pushes him away. The melody of the man I love awakened me. I heard his knock at my heart's door. Come away with me. Come away with me. You should be broken. You should come with me now. As he pleaded with me. Jesus speaking, next one. Arise, right? She's slumbered. She's fallen down. Open your heart, my darling, deeper still to me. Will you receive me this dark night? Will you be broken with me now? Now that you've said, I'll do anything for you, God. Now that you've said, yeah, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going down that path again. There is no one else but you, my friend, my equal. I need you this night to arise and come be with me. You are my pure, loyal dove, a perfect partner for me, my flawless one. Will you arise? For my heaviness and tears are more than I can bear. Right? That's a representation of the cross and of Jesus pleading for his people, of how he wants us in union with him. And then in the garden, I really believe when Pastor said that God cried in the garden when Adam and Eve broke the covenant, I believe that because it's expressed right here. My heaviness or tears are more than I can bear. I have spent myself for you throughout the dark night. Want to guess what that's a representation of? Go back up. It's just so amazing to me that Song of Songs, Isaiah, is way back in the past, 700 years before Christ. And we have a picture of the cross. I have Jesus saying, I have spent myself for you throughout the dark night. That's him praying in the garden. That's absolutely amazing. All right, keep going. The sleeping bride. See, before it was the God's people bride. Now it's, oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you. Shulamite in Hebrew is, it's the feminine version of Solomon. So Solomon's the author. He represents Jesus. Shulamite is the female version of Solomon. Like in Spanish, there's like a masculine, feminine, right? Solomon is the masculine in Hebrew, and Shulamite is the feminine for Solomon in Hebrew. So that speaks of a union. So it's not a coincidence here that it says the sleeping bride on every single title, and now it said the Shulamite bride representing the union, but now it's saying the sleeping bride. Why all of a sudden? Because that's how she's acting. She's not acting like being one with God now. I have already laid aside. See, it's amazing. Now we have a fence building because before she's saying, God, I love you. Sorry, this bothers me. God, I love you. I'll do anything for you. God says, okay, come with me. I want you to be broken. She resists. She goes through suffering, gets restored. And now God wants her to be broken again, even though it's her fault. And now she's saying, I have already laid it, because remember, God, he's knocking at her heart. He's saying, come away with me again. She's like, I've already laid aside my garments. I've already suffered enough, God. How could I take them up again since I've yielded my righteousness to yours? You have cleansed my life and taken me so far. You've already corrected me enough, God. Isn't that enough? I mean, I see offense there, personally. My beloved reached into me to unlock my heart. The core of my very being trembled at his touch. How my soul melted when he spoke to me. My spirit arose to open for more of his touch. My spirit arose to open for more of his touch. But remember, it said in the beginning that her flesh was sleeping. Right? Her flesh was weak, but her spirit was willing. The opposite of what the verse before it was, where Jesus said, I spent myself through the night for you. He's strong, right? Even though his spirit is strong and his flesh was weak in that moment and tired, he overcame that by praying through the night. For us, as I surrendered to him, meaning as I accepted the brokenness, I began to sense his fragrance, right? Because Jesus is in us and we get broken and he can come out of us and we smell his fragrance. The fragrance of his suffering love. It was the sense of myrrh flowing all through me. Remember, myrrh is a crying tree. So it was a sense of me being crucified. That's what it's saying. Your flesh is getting crucified because you have to in order to rise in glory with Jesus, right? Okay, we go to verse 8. I opened my soul to my beloved, but suddenly he was gone. and my heart was torn out in longing for him. We're in the same scenario. It's too late, right? We have to capitalize on the opportunity when the time comes. And my heart was torn out in longing for him. I sought his presence, his fragrance, but could not find him anywhere. I called out for him, yet he did not answer me. See, we're in the same boat. Now we have a fence building. I will arise and search for him until I find him. See, now remember the first time it said that she realized that she messed up and she walked into the city or the church and the pastor's like, you need to do this and this to be restored. And she listened. It said, as soon as I met with them, then right after that, I found Jesus. Basically what she was saying. This time is different. It's not just a simple conversation now. Now you might have a little bit of a little sternness coming your way, right? As I walked throughout the city in search of him, the overseers stopped me as they made their rounds, right? Because the pastors are checking on the people. They're seeing, how's my sheep? How's my sheep going? And they stop her and they say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you all over the place? We need to get you back on track. They beat me and bruised me until I could take no more. There's the correction and discipline. It now upped a level. The first level was they had a conversation. They said, this is what you need to do, be restored. She got lazy again, and she went through. See, this is why the offense is building in her, because she already, in her mind, is going through suffering, and now she goes to her authority to ask for help. And to kill that pride, the authority might be stern with them, right? And they beat me and bruised me until I could take no more. They wounded me deeply and removed my covering from me, right? So that could be directly from God correcting you on certain matters, and that hurts and it exposes your nakedness. Nevertheless, make this promise, you brides-to-be. If you find my beloved one, please tell him I endured all travails for him. I've been pierced through by love, and I will not be turned aside. Right, so she's saying, God, I've suffered for you, right? But at least she realizes here that is God's love, right? You might get corrected on something. It might not feel good. You might get a little irritated, but you got to quickly recover and realize that it's God's mercy, right? I will not be turned aside. She's like, I'm going to get back on track. But see, this is good. She has the good mindset, but she keeps going back into the old cycle. And it's not a coincidence that after Song of Songs comes Isaiah, which is an upping the ante of correction. Because we started out really simple, and then we spoke to authority, and we suffered twice, and we spoke to authority again, and they gave us the hammer. And now she's like, okay, I'm going to, it's the same thing. I'm going to go back with you, right? But then Isaiah comes later, and we see that the cycle is still continuing. So, 6, Song of Songs 6. Please. Oh, my beloved, you are lovely. When I see you in your beauty, I see a radiant city where we will dwell as one, your heart. More pleasing than any pleasure, more delightful than any delight. You have ravished my heart, stealing away my strength to resist you. This is Jesus speaking. Even hosts of angels stand in awe of you. Take your eyes from me. I can't take it anymore. I can't resist the passion of these eyes that I adore. Overpowered by a glance, my ravished heart undone. Held captive by your love, I am truly overcome. For your undying devotion to me is the most... that's what I was thinking of. For your undying devotion to me is the most yielded sacrifice. That's the incense right there. And click on that. I can't remember what that footnote is. Oh, yes. This is so important. So, this is why I recommend this book here. Because Your hair, look, this is the original word for word. Your hair is like a wave of goats streaming down Mount Gilead. What the heck does that mean? And we see hair as a picture of our devotion to Christ, right? Nazareth, right? A Nazarene grows out his hair in devotion. Samson, Jesus, right? Let me go back to 4. So it says, the Hebrew text, this is a footnote on 4:1, don't worry about it. The Hebrew text literally means your hair is like a flock of goats streaming down Mount Gilead. There's great symbolism in this verse. Hair is a symbol of our devotion to Christ. Mount Gilead, which means hill of testimony, is where the sacrificial animals were kept in preparation for temple sacrifices. Right, so Mount Gilead is where sacrifices are offered. So a goat coming down Mount Gilead was a sacrifice ready to be offered. So when he's saying, or hit the footnote. No, the other one. Yes, sacrifice. So when he's saying, come down with me, down Mount Gilead, he's basically saying, come suffer with me, right? This is the theme of this whole book, okay? I want you guys to really meditate on these 2 verses here. Okay, thank you, that's good. For your undying devotion to me is the most yielded sacrifice. You know what the other one is? That it says in Psalm 50, I think? Your gratefulness, your gratitude. Devotion and gratitude. What is devotion? I think we know what that is. It's prayer, reading. It's a foundation, like Pastor Eugene talked about. It's your obedience. It's the foundational things. When someone says like, oh, you're a gym rat, that means that a gym rat, for those of you guys who don't know, a gym rat is basically someone who's like addicted to going to the gym. They're always at the gym, right? When somebody says that, that means like, oh, you're solid at the gym. You have a foundation at the gym, right? That's your thing, right? So if God is our thing, our foundation has got to be devoted to him, right? It's got to be praying. It's got to be everything that a real Christian is supposed to have, right? Consistently, forever. Literally, like for eternity, if you think about it. It's not just now. Once we die, we just like literally disappear and just continue in heaven. Because heaven is supposed to be now. And so we're continually increasing like a graph. We start out in hell, literally in the ground, which is represented as inside the womb. And we come out and we go up and we're continuously going from glory to glory until we're just in total ecstasy of God. And then we die, which means nothing to us because if we're living right, we're already in heaven. Then we're just going to go from a great glory to an even greater glory, which is at the highest level, heaven, right? The shining of your spirit shows how you have taken my truth. Slow down a little bit, please. The shining of your spirit shows how you have taken my truth, right? My correction, my words, my everything, right? Are you going to obey what you've been told? And when you do that, your spirit shines, right? Your countenance changes, as we always say. The shining of your spirit shows how you have accepted my correction and instruction to become balanced and complete. You're not lopsided in the world. You're content, right? I think there's another one I read that talks about contentment. Your beautiful blushing, hold on. That's it for that one. Chapter 8. This is the last book. If only I could show everyone this passionate desire I have for you. Can you scroll up a little bit? Other way. Hold on. I want to make sure I give you guys the right context. This is us speaking. The bride. If only I could show everyone this passionate desire I have for you. If only I could fully express it fully, no matter who was watching me, without shame or embarrassment. I long to bring you into my innermost chamber, right? That means God's going to reveal the deepest parts of you that are painful, right? This holy sanctuary you have formed within me. Oh, that I might carry you within me. I would give you the spiced wine of my love, this full cup of bliss that we share. We would drink our fill until his left hand cradles my head while his right hand holds me close. We are at rest in this love. Promise me, brides to be, see, now it's her talking. It's before it was Jesus. Now she's learning her lesson. Promise me, brides to be, by the gentle gazelles and delicate deer, that you'll not disturb my love until he is ready to arise. The bridegroom king, Jesus. Who is this one? She arises out of her desert, clinging to her beloved. It's literally like a copy paste from the other chapters. It's like, why didn't we just sustain in this, right? I feel like this is one of the key secrets of the Bible, is like sustaining, not just the breakthrough, but anyone can get that. Might take a little effort and hard work to get a breakthrough, but sustaining, that's the real test. I'm telling you from experience, from messing up. Who is this one? She arises out of her desert, clinging to her beloved. When I awakened you under the apple tree, as you were feasting upon me, I awakened. Sometimes I wonder in the Garden of Eden if that fruit was an apple. Because it's like in the Passion, it talks about an apple constantly. And I think Pastor brought this up like years ago, but on the Mac, it has an apple with a bite in it. I don't know. Interesting. You never know. That they might not even know it. That could be Satan's play right there. Never know. Please go buy a Mac, okay? It's like it's the best computer. Do not avoid Macs. If I didn't have a Mac, I could not make music, okay? We would not have a live stream. We wouldn't have these verses up here. We'd be writing everything. You guys would be like the old days. I'd have a scroll, and you guys would just be listening for like 4 hours straight. So Macs are good. But Apple, I wonder why the Apple? They keep bringing that up. When I awakened you under the apple tree as you were feasting upon me, I awakened your innermost being with the travail of birth. See, I wonder if that's a picture of the garden there, because he's basically saying when you were feasting upon me on the apple tree, and then I awoke you up and corrected you and put you in a bed of suffering. That's basically what he's saying. As you longed for more of me, fasten me upon your heart as a seal. I think you guys all know this one. Fasten me upon your heart as a seal of fire forevermore. This living, consuming flame will seal you as my prisoner of love. My passion is stronger than the chains of death in the grave, all consuming as the very flashes of fire from the burning heart of God. Place this fierce, unrelenting fire over your entire being. Right? That's not a fun thing if you guys haven't figured out. Okay, this isn't like a this is a love story, but that is a scary line to read there. I don't know about you guys, but that makes me like tremble a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what that means. That comes with suffering. Rivers of pain and persecution will never extinguish this flame. Endless floods will be unable to quench this raging fire that burns within you. Everything will be consumed. Your will be consumed. I'm telling you right now. Every, like God said, I think last year or the year before, every knee will bow, right? That means everything that you're making your idol, you are not going to keep it. I promise you. And even if you resist, you're gonna lose that, and you're gonna go through suffering. How about that? What about? I mean, that's just horrible, right? Why not just lose it and have a relationship with God, and He'll give you 100 times better more, and you don't even care because your contentment's found in the relationship with Him. You don't even care about those things anymore. That's the secret. You don't even care, so God gives it to you. Because He knows you're not going to get attached to it. But if you resist, you're not only going to lose it, but you're also going to go through suffering. It's like a double whammy. See, I will stop. It will stop at nothing. See, God is fire, right? Fire of God Church, right? God's saying, I'm going to come until I get every piece out of you that is not aligned with me. It will stop at nothing as you yield everything. Okay? Don't take this word lightly. Everything that is not in aligned with the will of God and you're resisting, it will be surrendered. Whether in obedience or disobedience. Okay? I'm telling you, it's a fact. It says in I think it talks about in Isaiah, we're going to get to that. But he talks about you're going to get to a point where you're so sick of all the idols that you had that you will gladly throw them in the trash, in the dump, right? That's what I did. That's what I did in my last season. When God came after me, I realized that I better get right? Because not only am I going to go through suffering, but I'm going to lose the stuff anyways. Who cares, right? All that stuff is gone, right? If God gives it to me later or not, I don't care. It doesn't even matter. I have what I need now. I'm content now with the one thing that I need for the rest of my life, and that's my relationship with God. That's the only thing that matters. I got my Bible, I got my prayer, and I just got to keep dying to myself, and it will be fine. As soon as you start looking around spiritually or physically, you're going to get in trouble. Because people who say like, oh, I can handle it, those are the people that cannot handle it, okay? Like the people who say, oh, I get girls, that's like the person who never got a girl in their life. All right? Oh, yeah, I'm a ball, I can hoop, I'm good, I can play basketball. They suck, okay? I'm telling you right now. The people who got it, they ain't got to say nothing, right? They ain't have to say nothing. And people who say like, oh yeah, I can go play around with the world a little bit, it won't faze me. Bishop Kim doesn't even do that, right? He's like super hard, like doesn't, like there was a time where he was like singing in the books, like a worldly song, and like God rebuked him, right? Obviously he has a different level, but like if our senior pastor has that kind of devotion, why are we so quick to be like, I can handle it? Even Bishop Kim is like, hey, I better keep myself protected. How much more for us? That means we're hecka weak, right? We're going to be, as soon as we watch, I'm not saying like movies and stuff are bad, but like as soon as you get one, it's just human nature. It's, for me personally, I'd rather just not. And rather than just being like, let me dip my foot in the sewer and then go take a shower. Let me dip my foot in the sewer and then take a shower. I'd rather just stay clean. You know what I'm saying? It's just much easier that way for me. This is the most key verse. Everything will be consumed. It will stop at nothing as you yield everything to this furious fire, because God is a jealous God, until it won't even seem to you like a sacrifice anymore. That's just a beautiful verse. It's one of my favorites. My brother said to, this is us talking, my brother said to me when I was young, our sister is so immature. What will we do to guard her for her wedding day? They're like, how is this? She's never going to make it, right? That's basically what they're saying. And God's like, we will build a tower of redemption to protect her since she is vulnerable. God's like, I'll protect you, but you need to stay in me. We will enclose her with a wall of cedar boards. Right? You want to be protected, you're going to have to go, right, through the same path. I'm going to keep talking about this. And that's going to be our protection, is in God. In God means through the same path. Now, I probably got about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to use that to read Isaiah, because this is now directly after Song of Songs, the next book. And there's a pattern with God's people that we all know about. And I took the liberty of, like I said, taking pictures of each one of these pages and cropping them and putting them as a PDF for you. You're welcome. Okay, here's the vision that Isaiah, I probably won't read these footnotes because of time, but the word itself is just so meaty, it's ridiculous. Here's the vision that Isaiah, the son of Amos, received by divine revelation concerning what was going to happen to Judah and Jerusalem during the times of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Okay, I lied. I just want to read one. B. It is believed that Isaiah was an aristocrat, a member of the royal family, and nephew of King Uzziah. His father Amos was the brother of King Amaziah, right? So he's from a line of godly kings. Some of them aren't perfect, but, right, there's a hint there that Isaiah is devoted to God, clearly, because he wouldn't be getting these words. Okay, next page. Oh, wait, did I read all of it? Did I read all the... Yeah, okay. You could just scroll down like you did on the other one. Or zoom in or something. There you go. Listen, O heavens, hear, O earth, for the Lord Yahweh has spoken. I tenderly nurtured my tenderly nurtured children and made them great. See, there's the key. I raised them up, but they have rebelled against me. Even a dumb ox instinctively knows its owner, and the stubborn mule that knows the hand that feeds him. Just zoom out and then click zoom. Yeah, there you go. But Israel does not know me, nor do my people understand. Right? This is where God is going if we're resisting like Song of Songs. Oh, how this nation keeps sinning. See them dragging the heavy burden of their guilt. They are corrupt children, descendants of evildoers. They have turned their backs on the Lord God and despised the Holy One of Israel. Same story. Why would you seek to be injured further? Why would you stubbornly continue in your rebellion? Scroll down. I remember this one. This is a good one. F. Or why, knowing you'll be beaten again, do you rebel again? Ooh. Okay, next. Your whole head is sick. It means he's talking about your thoughts. And your heart and your will are weak and faint. You are corrupt from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. There is no integrity, nothing but bruises, putrefying sores, and raw open wounds. They have not been drained or bandaged or soothed with oil. Your country is devastated and your cities burned to the ground. Foreigners plunder your crops before your eyes with nothing but devastation and destruction in their wake. And the daughter of Zion is left as helpless as a deserted shack in a vineyard. Right? You're left off to the side while the rest of the vineyard is flourishing. Or like a flimsy shelter in a field of cucumbers, in every way like a city besieged. So we are going to be that means God saying, even though the cities are destroyed and whatnot, we're going to be the destroyed city and other people are going to get the blessing. If the Lord of angel armies had not left us survivors, our fate would have been the same as Sodom and Gomorrah. Hear the word of Yahweh, you leaders of Sodom. Heed the correction of our God. People of Gomorrah, you better listen to this rebuke. God's saying we're like Sodom and Gomorrah. And Yahweh keeps saying, why such countless sacrifices? What use are they to me? I've had your fill of burnt offerings and rams and your fattened animals. I find no delight in the blood of bulls, lambs, or goats. Remember, he talked about in Song of Songs that the best sacrifice is a yielded heart in devotion to God. All right, next one. Did you go over too much? Okay. When you come before my face, who asked you to come trampling on my courtyard? Stop bringing your meaningless offerings. Your burning incense stinks. This is for today. This isn't 700 years BC, right? This is us spiritually. And some of us that are resisting, this can come to pass and will come to pass if there's continuous resisting. Otherwise, it wouldn't be written about. Your sin-stained celebrations. See, your burning incense stinks. God's like, your devotion to me is weak. It's nothing. It's not even a good incense. It doesn't even smell good. Your sin-stained celebrations, your new moon festivals, Sabbaths, your various religious meetings. I can't stand them. With all my soul, I hate your new moon festivals and your feast. They're nothing but a burden that I'm sick and tired of carrying. It said in the footnote that God hates when his name is stamped on things that people call God and it's not. When you stretch out your hands to pray, I will hide my eyes from you. Repeat your prayers all you want, but I will not listen, for your hands are stained with innocent blood. You know what our hands are stained with? Our hands are stained with the blood of Christ, right? We're the ones that put Jesus on the cross. And when we're resisting, we're putting him back on the cross. That blood is on our hands. You see that? We're trampling on grace. Wash yourselves and make yourselves clean. Remove your evil actions from my sight and stop sinning. Learn what it means to do good. Learn. By seeking righteousness and justice, rescue the oppressed, uphold the rights of the fatherless, and defend the widow's cause. Come now and let's deliberate or argue, is what it said, like Job, over the next steps to take together. Yahweh promises you over and over, though your sin stains you like scarlet, and that's what it talks about the worm, I will whiten them like bright new fallen snow. Even though they are deep red like crimson, they will be made white like wool. If you have a willing heart to let me help you, like in Song of Song, God's saying, open your heart to me, and if you will obey me, you will feast on the blessings. Willing heart and obedience. Foundation. Feast on the blessings of an abundant harvest. But if you are stubborn and refuse to obey, the sword will eat you instead. The mouth of Yahweh has spoken, meaning the hand of God will come after you. Next. I just want to finish this. Look how the once faithful city has become an unfaithful prostitute. She who was once the center of justice, where righteousness made its home, is now the dwelling place of murderers. She was once like a sterling silver, now only mixture. Once so pure, now diluted like watered down wine. It said that's like the watered down, when we have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, that's like we're watering down the Holy Spirit, which is representative of the wine. Your rulers are rebellious and companions of crooks. They are self-centered racketeers, greedy, who love a bribe and who chase after payoffs. They don't defend the fatherless or consider the rights of a helpless widow. Therefore, here's what the Sovereign One decrees. The Lord of angel armies, the mighty one of Israel. It's almost like crying. It says that they use that word at a funeral. God is like in deep distress. He's sad. I will get relief from my adversaries and avenge myself on my foes. That is God's people. God's saying the people who are stubborn and disobey, that's his enemies. I will put my fiery hand upon you. Like I said, I'll put my fire on you and it will consume everything and purify you with fire into something clean. Skip down. 28. Scroll up a little bit. There will be a shattering of rebels and sinners together, and those who forsake the Lord will be consumed. You will reap shame from the idols you once delighted in, and you will be humiliated by your cultic sacred groves where you chose to worship, which is the high places in your time of prosperity. All right, next. That's it. Okay. So, to wrap it up, I was going to read 2, but I'll just give you a summary. Basically saying that when you're full of pride and arrogance, which is bowing down to your stubbornness, God's going to come after you. And it even says on one line here that really stood out to me. The people bowed down low before the no gods, meaning false gods, your stubbornness, your whatever. And the leaders lie down flat before them in worship. So do not spare them. Isaiah is saying do not spare them. In the footnote it says do not raise them up again. There will come a time where God is going to move on to somebody else. That's what that's saying, right? And I don't want to be scary, but I think an ounce, a hefty, nice full glass of fear of God is needed always, because that's what I personally needed. And when God came after me like that, which is probably measured anyways, because I don't want to know what a full heap of judgment is. I'm good off that. That'll put you in check. And when you get restored, you got to sustain that. So to wrap it up, when you go through your cycles, you got to stop, right? You got to stop the cycle because God's going to keep upping the ante like I talked about last time. First, it was having a conversation with the pastor. You need to do this. You do it. You get restored. Then you suffer twice. And now you go to the pastor again. And now they're coming at you stern because you're not listening and because you're offended and because your will is in the way. And so now you get restored. And now you start slumbering down again. And this happens forever. And then Isaiah kicks in and God's like, okay, enough of these games, right? I'm sick of you cheating on me. Like, God's going to come after you where it hurts. And it's not to be mean, but it's when he destroys all of you, it's because 98% of you is sin. If you feel like you're just completely wiped out, it's because most of you is flesh. If you are all spirit and flowing with God, fire, like Pastor says, fire can't burn fire, right? So you got to think, right? Have that healthy dose of fear of God in your life because these will come to pass, right? I don't want to scare, but that fear of God helped me, and I want it to penetrate into you guys too so we don't make the same mistakes. That's it. Amen.
All right, amen.